All right, we are recording. Thank you everybody for joining this session of Customizable Campaign Influence Demystified. This is a topic that is popular and also kind of not super well understood. I get a lot of questions from my clients about how it works and what it is and what it is not. And this presentation by Sab should help to kind of clarify some of those items. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat below. Sab, if you see them, feel free to answer them,
Sure.
or I may interrupt you periodically to put questions to you. But yeah, with that, I will hand over. Thank you everybody for joining, and take it away, Sab.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the kind of intro. So my name is Sab, marketing automation practice lead at Cloud Kettle. Almost 10 plus years experience working on the marketing automation, Pardot, account engagement, marketing cloud, and data cloud, everything. So anything marketing automation related, and Google Analytics GA4 as well. So today we are going to cover what's campaign influence, why measure attribution, just to give a quick highlight. We will talk about campaign attribution models that exist in Salesforce. We will deep dive on customizable campaign influence, which will be the big chunk of this presentation, and wrapping up with some demo. We will kind of finish everything with best practices for optimizing campaigns, from my experience, how our clients are using it, what's the best scenarios there, how they're leveraging campaign influence. And again, as Ben mentioned, if you have any questions, I will kind of check the chat frequently. If I don't, we have enough time at the end to cover everything. So what is campaign influence? Why measure attribution? And if you're in the marketing automation, or if you're in the marketing, you would like to measure where you spend your money, your investment, your initiatives. And in most cases, you would like to know the campaigns that drive revenue. What's the marketing impact on your pipeline? Yes, we are spending money, and most of the time, your leadership team is going to ask, is like, hey, you're spending X amount of, and you are making X amount of investment on a certain channel. Like, does it bring any revenue? What's the pipeline? Yes, some of campaigns bringing, but are you creating any awareness for some of the for opportunities? And they sometimes they would like to know, like, what are the campaigns that kind of influences to generation of opportunity, but what are the campaigns that actually pushes the finish line to close the opportunity? So overall, you would like to measure your ROI calculation, like how accurate it is. And it will help you to kind of get you this, like, okay, this is how much money the investment I'm making this initiative, and should I make this increase that the spend more or spend less? And of course, overall, drive your marketing strategy. And if you're in marketing, also, like if you're in marketing automation, you have folks on the marketing, you can help them to understand what are the initiatives, what are the channels they have invest, and then understand like what brings the revenue. The other bullet point that's not here is, and what I hear from our clients sometimes, like on a LinkedIn post as well, is that, hey, we don't know. Like there are channels that we are not able to measure. For example, if a company learned about us in podcast and later on came and download the form, you're going to attribute it on the website, but actually they learned about us on podcast. Like, that's true. I have nothing against them or as arguments, but I don't want to ignore, like, okay, we don't want to measure anything because there are channels like they're in the dark and we don't have visibility. I'm always kind of in a favor that, hey, let's measure what we can. If there are channels that we cannot, that's fine. In the future, I like there will be platforms with the AI, with the way people interact with your content, people to interact with your services, solutions. That's also changing. So this will also evolve, and I'm pretty sure there will be capabilities that's not exist today, but in the future that will give you the more visibility how people hear about you. So again, like I agree with those arguments, but at the same time, I am kind of in a more favor that, hey, let's do what we can today with the capabilities that exist for free for us, and set up it properly, so in the future we can scale in a better way when those new features and capabilities becomes available. So when we go to campaign attribution model in Salesforce, Salesforce Campaign Influence 1.0, it kind of ties back directly primary campaign source attribution model. And that is where you can, when you create opportunity, you're able to grab the primary campaign source and then measure that way in your report. And then later on, kind of they introduced customizable campaign influence, where it gives you more visibility, and it also gives you the option to compare revenue share, what's the first touch based on the last touch, or even distribution. So those are the things that, if you are an account engagement, of course, if you're using account engagement, it's available to you. I think it's a Plus Advanced. There's like 3 models, but it's available by default. But if you're a Marketing Cloud engagement, this not applies. Like this will not apply to you. You're not going to have that additional customizable influence model. Again, as I said, in our future slides, we are going to deep dive on a first touch, last touch, even distribution means. And then we have an Einstein attribution. I think they released in 2020. What Einstein attribution is a little bit, I don't want to say black box, but you don't have much control how it works. There are some certain settings that you can configure, and what's the time period you can look at, what's the kind of success means in your opportunity. But just give us some information. Einstein attribution kind of leverages, like, there's a game theory called Shapley value method, and it kind of like every interaction contact makes with your content, it distributes the value. So I'm not going to deep dive on that one, but it's more, again, as the name says, everything with the Einstein. It's a kind of model works behind the scenes. It can create a virtual connection between a contact and your opportunity and give the attribution back to your campaigns. Of course, campaign members, connected campaigns requires for Einstein attribution, but campaign membership is optional because it can create this virtual connection between contact and opportunity. Again, that's not a topic for today's session, but if you're interested and you would like to more like how Einstein attribution exactly works, I work with our BI team, kind of get a little bit of insight, like what the Shapley value method, kind of they prepare the one pager for me to explain. It's a really cool game theory model, but again, it's more kind of what Einstein takes care of everything for you. So let's go deep dive. We will start from a simple, the kind of how prospect engage, and till the end how revenue kind of share happens in customizable campaign influence. Okay, so let's kind of set back. So you have prospects on your website, so they come and engage with your services, products, and solutions, and they take different actions on your website. For example, Emily can attend the event that you had, or William can download the white paper, or Sarah, again, attend the webinar that you ran recently, or even attend the on-demand webinar. In all cases, if they fill out the form, or they stop by your booth, or you capture their name while you had the executive event, you'll grab their information. So, and in most cases, I'm hoping that you're creating a campaign to capture those people. And so you have a growth summit that happened, Emily attended, so you added that person to a campaign, either manually or through marketing, the account engagement, or any marketing automation platform you use. Similar to William, added to customer success white paper, and Sarah attended Client Connect webinar. Once they're added to each campaign, of course, they become a campaign member, which is critical, is really important, because we can have so much state stored in campaign member, which we kind of touch base at the end. But kind of from customizable influence campaign the perspective, you have a prospect become a contact or lead, added the campaign, and becomes a campaign member. Next, another piece that's really important to kind of emphasize is kind of when they interact with your content. So Emily can interact with 3 different assets in 3 different times, and when she engages with the content will help you when you do the first touch, last touch, or even distribution. So we come to contact opportunity relation. So now we had the Emily interacted with some content. Our sales team went and engaged with a person, and they create the opportunity because Emily showed interest to upgrade their license, and they add as a contact role. Contact role is, I will say, the one piece that kind of will make it or work or fail of your campaign influence model, because that's the connection between MLA, opportunity, and a campaign. So it's a kind of like, if you don't have a contact role added by sales, any campaign influence model except Einstein cannot make a connection and give enough revenue share back to the campaign. So it's really critical to make a habit in your organization that your sales team making sure they add in contact role. On top of that, if you can automate it, make it required. Like, for example, if the opportunity goes to certain stage, make sure that the sales team has to pick a contact role, because then marketing can get a credit. Without a contact role, there's no marketing, cannot measure any campaign, what are the impact on opportunity. Okay. If you put everything together, kind of look back in a high level, we had the campaigns, we have a campaign member, Emily, member of multiple campaigns, but Emily is also a contact role in opportunity. And that will help us like to kind of visualize, hey, here's the opportunity and what kind of a revenue share each campaign should get. Okay, let's go look at the numbers right now. So let's say our opportunity that was created by sales team is 12K. Okay, and Emily, she was part of 3 different campaigns. And if you look at the even revenue distribution, each campaign will get 4K credit. So that when you look, is like, hey, which campaign performed better in an even distribution, all of them will get 4K. But things get a little bit different when you have multiple opportunities, multiple contacts engaging with the same campaign. So in this scenario, we have another opportunity, and from that opportunity we have William, which is a 10K. If you look at the campaign level now, Growth Summit will stick on 4K, but right now, Customer Success Campaign and the Client Connect will get the revenue share, because we are looking at the even revenue distribution. It will get a equal credit. So the Customer Success Campaign will get 4K from 12K opportunity, and Customer Success at the same time will get 5K from other opportunities. So right now what we see, hey, Customer Success actually brought 9K revenue, and the Client Connect campaign will also brought the 9K revenue. So from if you're a marketer, you would like to decide, is like, okay, did Growth Summit campaign perform better than Customer Success? No, because hey, it only brought the 4K revenue versus Customer Success and the Client Connect campaigns brought 9K revenue, and you can make a better decision. Of course, we are looking in a simple use case. We are looking to opportunities, but think about where you have multiple opportunities, multiple campaign members, and then you will see the different values in the revenue share that each campaign brings. So let's go over, because it's important to understand how each campaign influence model works and how it is recalculated in Salesforce. If you look at first touch model in campaign influence model, 100% revenue will be credited to the first campaign that the prospect touches. So it is based on a campaign member creation date. If you have an opportunity, you have multiple people attended multiple campaigns, the first touch will only look where a contact is engaged with the first campaign across all campaigns. So that specific campaign will get 100% credit. For even distribution, all campaigns will get the equal credit from that opportunity. So the revenue share will be equally distributed across board. When you look at last touch board, it's not the last campaign that the person was a member of. It's when a campaign membership last modification date. It's important because on a first touch, we looked at member creation date. On a last touch point, we are looking at the membership last modification date, which is why it's important, because if you have someone in a campaign and suddenly go and update their member status, that will make that campaign last touch point. So, it's really important to kind of understand, like, hey, this is the campaign that the X person was member of. This is the latest event we did. Why someone who engaged the previous campaign got they're getting a credit, like this campaign shouldn't get a credit based on the last touch model. It's like, yes, you may be right, but the Salesforce checking the last campaign member's last modification date, and then that's where the last touch, the revenue share will go to last touch model. Okay. I'll just quickly check if there are any questions. Perfect. So we are good so far. If I go to kind of look on a campaign influence model from different perspective is, hey, if I get the same Emily and you look from and run different attribution models, if I look from even distribution, all campaigns will get the equal amount of credit, like opportunity value divided by 3, because the Emily member of 3 different campaigns. But if I look the first touch point, only the first campaign that she was a member of will get a credit. And if I look at the last touch, only the last campaign will get a credit, because the last campaign that Emily was a member of is Client Connect, and hopefully that was the campaign where the membership date was updated. So like it's kind of like that's what actually you will see in the report when you run in Salesforce. And it's kind of the visualization representing what you will see in a Salesforce report. You run a campaign, customizable campaign influence report. You will have a first touch, even distribution, last touch distribution. And on the first touch distribution, you will see exact same numbers. And for even distribution, again, everything is equally. I just added one more campaign here just to show how it's the 12K equally distributed among all campaigns, and then what you will see the last distribution. Something else that you are going to see in Salesforce, and this sometimes confuses people, is that revenue share on a campaign level will be equal to the number that we have here, like 12K. But what you will see on a customizable campaign influence view is that you will see the contacts. All contacts will get the equal credit. On a first touch, again, if you roll up everything, total revenue share is still 12K. But on a member level, contact level, all members from that campaign will get, again, redistributed for each member. And even though this Emily Johnson was the first campaign member in the customer success campaign, but then other 2 people will get the credit, kind of Salesforce assumes that because those are the contacts in this first touch campaign, they may also influence. But again, if you look on a campaign level, nothing changes. But if you would like to one level down on the contact level, that's where you will see the revenue share is distributed. Okay. So if I go to best practices, and I will jump on a slide, kind of talk about the campaigns, is I want to really highlight that the importance of having proper campaign hierarchy and a clear naming convention. It's a kind of like, it's really critical. So when I say what's the campaign hierarchy options you have, you may decide to have campaign for everything, or you may decide campaign for initiatives. When I say campaign for everything, where you will have your parent campaign, if you are doing like a campaigns based on a fiscal year, you may have your parent campaign. Then you can have a child campaign, trade shows, white papers, website, and you can go one level down. You have a campaigns that kind of represents your initiatives. And then the next thing, what I see, like almost like 50% our clients, or 50-50, or sometimes like they will adopt this approach where they will create a campaign for each channel. Okay, I'm not saying that approach is not wrong, but in most cases, what I see, whenever each quarter starts or each year starts, company will go and recreate their campaigns and recreate their channels as well. Like, can you imagine if you have a kind of promoting your assets across 10 different channels, you create a campaign and you create 10 channels, even though you know maybe only 2 channels will receive the engagement, and you're just having other 8 campaigns sitting there idle and they don't have any membership. And you can also end up in a situation where you add people to your initiative at the same time adding the channel, where revenue share, instead of the initiative getting 100%, it is distributed between kind of two campaigns, you would like to avoid that. So what's the alternative? The alternative is that you have campaigns for initiatives. So the lowest level of campaign represents your initiative, your trade show, your white paper, Gartner report, the executive event. And then you may have a question like where I store the channel data. You can store the channel data in a campaign member. The great capability about the campaign member is that you can store additional data points in a campaign member object. So every time a person comes and downloads something, instead of adding into a channel, you can store that information in a campaign member record. So that campaign member record can store UTM medium, UTM source, UTM campaign. So the way you do it, and there are lots of resources online, is whenever the person is added to a campaign, you go and check the UTM values, grab those UTM values, and append to the campaign member record. By doing so, you don't lose a visibility. For example, if you would like to measure performance of your campaign by channel, you don't have to go and look at the separate campaigns. You can just, so it's like, hey, show me the membership by channel, so that you can get that granular view, and you can say that, okay, this Boston show I had I spent X amount of money on paid, and let me see how many campaign members I have from paid. So that will help you to, if you do that based on an initiative, you avoid having double counting problem that you may face on a campaign for everything model. You can also store additional like source, campaign, and medium information on a campaign member record. And again, if your company is leveraging Analytics Studio, you can bring that campaign member information back to the dashboard, and you can also even filter down your revenue share based on a campaign member, because at the end of the day, campaign member lives on the campaign get the revenue share, and you can connect that UTM medium data back to the campaign and then filter out the revenue share based on the campaign. And if you look from a kind of why you will design this way, your campaigns kind of feed your branches, and you can kind of have an illustration that your channels kind of feed on your through the campaign members. Kind of like, this is the illustration I do with our clients, and it's a kind of analogy kind of helps them to kind of explain the kind of model. If I go back, you have to choose the right attribution model for your business needs and have a look at regularly. Again, it doesn't cost to turn on all attribution models, but which attribution model you look is mostly based on your business. If you're historically tracking based on the first touch point, again, you can still get the campaign influence model based on the first touch model. And then again, other data points available there. And if you would like to even distribution, it's a matter of changing a filter in the report or Analytics Studio. Other thing I highlighted before, kind of emphasizing here as well, contact role is really important. Without a contact role, there's no connection between campaign and opportunity, and also campaign membership is kind of critical. Like if you don't add someone to campaign, there's no way for Salesforce to make that connection. And also, just to make sure the sales and marketing team understands what's the value you are getting from this. Yes, marketing is sometimes driving this, but it's important to explain to your sales team that's like, hey, this is why it's important to select a contact role. If you don't select a contact role, marketing doesn't know which campaign performing better, and we can tell you like which campaigns will bring more leads. If you are short on number of leads in a certain month, we will not able to make a kind of meaningful decision, because we don't have a numbers to make a decision which area we should invest more. Okay. So next we are going to dive in on a Salesforce side, and we can wrap it up with some questions. So I'm going to kind of change screen sharing to my demo org. This is a demo org that I use for my demos. So the way you're going to find the customizable influence setting, if you go just type go. Yes, let's go to say campaign influence settings. That's the so we can go to campaign influence. There are certain things that you can kind of configure. You have a setting where you can say, okay, if someone become a campaign member a year ago, I would like to be counted as an impact on pipeline. But someone is engaged with my ad asset maybe 2 years ago, I don't want to be influenced. I don't want to consider that person influencing my opportunity that was created like this month. So that is where you have a campaign influence time frame. To start with, we can start with 365 days, but this will also represent your sales cycle. What was the first time prospect engaged with your content, and how long did it take close that opportunity? Okay, and then usually again 365 days, 1 year is a standard, but it's not a kind of like, hey, you have to have 1 year. In some, if depending on your business model, your sales cycle can be 6 months, 3 months, or even 2 weeks is like the rare. But depending on your time frame, you can set your campaign influence. You may have campaigns that you don't want to include in your campaign influence. Like if you are running operational, I see some the companies that they will do the email campaign, but an email campaign will not have an impact on your campaign influence because you're just sending. There's no action taking by a user to consider that person influence. Like if they fill out the form as a result of the email, then fill out the form will be captured under different campaign because most likely they are signing up for a webinar or downloading an asset. So that will be like under different category. So this will help you to say, hey, exclude operational campaigns. And I don't know if probably you're not able to see drop downs, but you can select a campaign name and then say that, hey, don't include it. And you can do the by type. You can do, if you have any custom fields on a campaign or opportunity, you're able to kind of include or exclude people. The beauty of this is that every time you update the auto association, the campaign influence table behind everything is stored like campaign influence table inside in Salesforce. That object recalculates itself automatically. So if you have a campaigns like where everyone's added by default, like for example, the website tracking, and then you don't want that website tracking get the revenue share, and you exclude the revenue share by coming here and then excluding that from by names, like, hey, do not exclude if campaign name if not equal to blah blah. So it is going to exclude all the campaigns where the name is not equals to website tracking. So website tracking will not get any revenue share, and all other campaigns will get the new revenue share after that website tracking removed. You have a campaign influence settings. This is a setting that additional campaign influence model will be available if you have account engagement plus advanced and the other versions enterprise. But for account marketing cloud engagement user, exact target users, this option is not available. Once you click enable, if I go to model settings, you are going to see additional models available to you: first touch, last touch, event distribution. You can also have your new attribution model your own, but simply by creating it will not do anything. So in order for your campaign influence kind of work, you need to have some Apex flow triggers that are happening behind the scenes to help with the recalculation. Like you can have your U-shape attribution model, V-shape attribution model, but if you create them, just make sure that you have kind of experience, or the people have experience in your company supporting that attribution model by creating Apex and flow, the populated values. And the one thing that you see most likely is data-driven model. This data-driven model becomes available when you turn on the Einstein. And then if I go quickly look at the Einstein here, if you would like to turn it on, you will go to your marketing setup and then come to platform tools and click on Einstein account management, and you will click Einstein attribution, and you have to turn it on. Again, the enable customized influence it becomes like required for Einstein to work, and also you have to enable Einstein attribution. It will take 24 hours for any result to appear or show up in B2B CRM analytics. And you can also set your campaign influence time frame and also identify a success milestone. What does success mean as in your opportunity? Like in which stage when you switch your opportunity, you will consider as a success metric. Again, every time you enable it, you have to give for Einstein to recalculate the distribution. So if you ask me which is which one I should start with, I will say definitely if you have account engagement, go and turn on customizable campaign influence, enable or first touch, last touch, event distribution. Make sure you talk to your team because once you turn this on, they may not be able, some related lists on the opportunity page will get updated, so they will not be able to kind of select see the related list for the on the sidebar. It gets updated, and also let them know that hey, the first touch, last touch, event distribution enabled. And once you kind of enable it, you can get you'll get a new report type as well. It's called, let's go here, the all campaigns with influence. That's a long name to say, but you have a campaigns with influence opportunities, customizable campaign influence, and here you're able to group by model, by campaign. So you can just drop the model name. So if I go and let's go and save and close. Let's call it campaign influence and save it. Click it. This may not show like this because it's a dummy kind of account. Oh, it's divided by opportunity amount. Sorry. Let's go ahead and say model name. And let's go put the revenue share here and then put the influence and then say we'll run the report. Yeah, you will see here event distribution. I have multiple campaigns, and then campaign will get like what's the revenue share. They will get 100%. If you have event distribution, you have 100%. That means that contact only participated in one specific campaign. I look on the first touch campaign. That's the thing. Like if you have what you see here, like Pardot Evergreen was a default campaign. Maybe I am attaching everything where it's like the initiative or the action I'm doing is not tied back to any campaign. I will select that one. But is it a great idea? No. Most likely in your real kind of use case scenario, you will exclude Pardot Evergreen from your auto association setting, so that Pardot Evergreen doesn't get any attribution. But this is demo org. I don't have the multiple campaigns to show, but that will be the use case, kind of like why you will exclude a certain campaign from your campaign influence model. Okay. If I go back to slides again, if you get 2 or 3 things out of this kind of session is make sure you go, if you haven't turned on, just go turn on, talk with the sales and admin team, make sure they understand what does it mean, what are the things what's going to be created. If you are not using a contact role, explain the importance of the contact role to your sales team, why they should do it. And if still they don't do it, talk to your admin team, make something automated where if they go and update the opportunity status, then they have to enter a contact role. And and just once you get the numbers, continuously monitor them. Make sure if there are the campaigns that you don't want to be included in your campaign influence, and make sure to exclude them. And the system will take care and kind of recalculate everything for you. And you will see that kind of like, hey, this campaign actually makes sense. We should go double down in this initiative. Or if you sponsored any content syndication program, you may say, okay, this is actually converting more green, generating more pipeline. Let me go and double down this content syndication program and expense or other kind of solution areas you have. I'll go back to the questions and I stop sharing. Awesome. Questions are tracking now. Oh, there are lots of questions. Cool. My major collaboration metrics. General speed is one model. So Jennifer, to answer your question, I will say event distribution is something that I have seen more, where the companies will see value. But if your company looking at top of the funnel is like, hey, what are the kind of channels bring more people to like our the any marketing tactic we are doing, like bringing more people to our as a lead, then yeah, we can look at the first touch model. But you can again, you have a option to go to between first and last touch and see is like, hey, what's the campaign that gets people on the finish line and then converts to opportunity. So that will be the like your last touch point model. So the Justin, you had a questions like how you're adding to UTM. That will be a flow. Again, this is one area probably if you're a marketer or if you're working in account engagement, the one area you can go and focus and becomes more popular with the Marketing Cloud growth is you can use a flow that checks if it's a lead or contact at the campaign member, and then go and from the member record grab that the UTM values and append on campaign member record. Awesome. Perfect. I think some people answered the questions as well. Perfect. Yeah. If you have any questions, or if you have kind of want to understand exactly any questions you have about this specific topic, I'm spending more time nowadays on attribution side and trying to come up with like the more exciting content for the community to kind of to leverage this piece. And this is exactly like one of them. I have been in so many sessions with our clients where we have to go through this, kind of explaining what actually means, so they can leverage, because sometimes there are features in the platform and they're not explained in detail, and it gets harder for clients to teams to adapt. So I'm hoping that this was helpful for you to go and just kind of enable in your organization.
Yeah, thank you, Sab. This was super informative, and I've kind of had a similar experience where I've had clients who don't really understand what attribution means in Salesforce and account engagement and other things, and but then once they think they understand it, they start asking for things that are not possible, or they make assumptions that systems are talking to each other that are not.
Exactly.
And then you kind of become the bad guy of having to be like, well, unfortunately, that doesn't work. But it's an interesting thing that one thing I've noticed, I've been a little surprised by, is the number. Well, the number of organizations who you would assume are well situated in that world, like they're like household names almost, and then they're like, oh, you guys aren't like counting anything. Like there's no how do you even know what marketing is doing?
Exactly.
They're like, we talk a good game and they believe us. That's basically kind of what happens in a lot of organizations. But then there are the handful that are more mature, and I guess what I'm curious to know is if you've been coming across any, if you've noticed an increase in the number of organizations that have been like actively trying to explore a kind of custom, like building a much more custom influence model.
I mean, the 100%, there are more the companies are realizing that, hey, we have to measure like what actually marketing is doing. Like we're spending like millions of dollars, like we should know like what the pipeline is generating. But other interesting thing that I've seen companies who super advanced the attribution model, but they're not aware that part that has that campaign influence exists in the Salesforce. They will go their way. They will go and create something super advanced. They will go and create in a BI platform, and they will just do like a data processing and outside. Like when I go back to them and say like, have you even looked at the customizable campaign influence model? And the question is like, what is that? It's just like, it surprises me. And again, so it's a big brands, like publicly traded companies, I will say, they have account engagement in some of their solutions or brands, they are going to use it, but they will not be aware, and they will rely on external people to get that data. But yeah, I've seen the more uptake, but I also seen the uptake on the people not aware of this that exists. And that was actually led me to create this slide, is that, hey, explain to them, because if you go to implementation document and give to the client, there's no way they will get there. So like there's so many nuances that I even like learned once I went to deeper on a customer, like this influence model that exists there. So I'm not expecting them, like once you share the help document, they will understand.
Yeah.
You just need to go like get like, hey, this is how it actually works. Like, so let's modify it, create that even distribution. It gets more clear and helps them to kind of like convince people internally as well.
Yeah. There is a question that is, I was wondering if we were to get this question, because
Yeah.
Salesforce reporting, the influence models that you see in a traditional Salesforce report will not always be the same as what you see in B2B MA.
Yes.
And that is a point where you kind of feel like you just start pulling your hair out. You're like, why? It should be the same. It's the same data, right? And it's like, well, it's kind of sort of the same data.
Yeah. The biggest place, Ben, you will see a data-driven model. Again, anything with Einstein is a little bit of black box. Like you don't know what's in that, like how it's calculated. But one thing where I see the benefit, all campaign influence, every time it gets recalculated, it's stored in a campaign influence object. So you have access to raw data. You have to make some connection between different model, like because campaign influence model is a separate object where it connects the name, but the campaign influence actually collects everything. And then even first last touch is based on that object. So if you are a little bit SQL savvy or SQL savvy, just go query that database, that object, and you will find your answer. And if you have a question how you would do that, just feel free to shoot on my message. I can spend like 30 minutes with you to go and like have a look. This is
Yeah.
this is how I do myself. It's like, if the client comes like, hey, why this campaign getting? It's like, okay, let me go have a look at raw data and have a better answer, because then I can show that person how it's calculated.
Yeah, Simon. So specifically to your question, like the thing that people will often forget or not realize is that B2B MA is effectively a series of integrations with Salesforce. And so the data has to be queried correctly, and it has query dates and times and schedules. And so if the data that you're seeing in Salesforce reports is basically as often as you refresh it manually. The stuff that you see in accounting or in B2B MA is stuff that's as recent as the data table has been refreshed. And
Correct.
if it's, and then that there's all these other dependencies, like, are you grabbing the right field? How often are you grabbing it? There's other things there. So it is, I would not be super sketched out. Don't get too sketched out about the fact that like the data is going to be different, because it is a different, like the path that data has to travel is longer and more fraught than in B2B MA than it is in a kind of in Salesforce reports and dashboards. It's definitely more and it's the upside is that you can do a lot more with it. You can, if you have that, like the SQL or the SOQL experience, then you can splice and dice in ways that you can't really do in a Salesforce report and dashboard. But those one-to-one, the one-to-one data becomes a little tough, because it's pulling things in different cadences and in different quantities and at different times. So it's the troubleshooting is to, if you are able and comfortable digging into the data flows between Salesforce and B2B MA or Einstein or not Einstein Analytics. What are they called? Tableau CRM. That's what they're calling it now. Yeah. To understand what the frequency of data that's coming over is, and what the load schedules are, and if the load schedules are, if it's like every 2 days or something, because that happens. People will say, I don't need this data, but every couple of days, then it's going to be less fresh than the data that you're going to get in Salesforce. So I would investigate as much as you're comfortable what the data loads are and how and the frequency. And I know that we have, I want to say, I don't want to put Vicky on the spot, but I'm pretty sure that Vicky Harrell is kind of a B2B MA whiz expert, sort of. I don't know, Vicky, if you have any thoughts you want to put in the chat. You may not even be
like physically in front of your computer. I'm sorry, Becky. I for some reason I might be confusing you with somebody. I apologize. But at any rate, that's what I mean. It's B2BMA. There are resources out there. There are the thing to look for when you are thinking about B2BMA and you're looking for training resources. Don't focus on B2BMA. Look for CRM analytics training resources.
Yes.
Because B2BMA is just effectively kind of a skin.
It's the app.
It's an app that sits on top of CRM analytics. It's pulling, and B2BMA is literally just the pipelines pulling Pardot data. That's basically what B2BMA is. Yeah. Everything else is CRM analytics. So if you want to be better with B2BMA, the foundation of that is to learn CRM analytics, because that's what it is. That's what all the foundational pieces of it. It is a Pardot app on a completely different platform in a lot of ways. And so that's where you would start, is learning CRM analytics. And then, because once you start learning like the lenses and how and like the data flows and how to make those connections in CRM analytics, B2BMA makes a lot more sense.
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. So Simon, glad that helped. Yeah. So I guess Sab, thank you so much. If there's anything else you want to say or plug or whatever.
Yeah. Thanks so much for inviting. It was another great session. And if anyone who attended, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or shoot a kind of message, either Ben or myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. This has been recorded and will be up on YouTube in the next few days, and I'll put it on the event page and things of that nature. So it'll be making its rounds on social as well. So thanks again for joining, and I'm in the process of scheduling a few more meetings for the rest of the year. So I'm hopeful to maybe get one more this month, and then we'll get another one in August. So everyone, thank you for joining, and have a good rest of your day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.